Alright, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, hello. Today we are going to be working on hands. How do we make a hand? How do we better draw hands? It's the question I probably get posed with the most as an art teacher. On feedback from students, they'll say, Mr. G, how can I better draw hands? Well, usually it's better draw hands. 1, practice. And 2, having some tricks and techniques to help us along the way is not a bad idea. And knowing all the parts of the hand and how the parts are made up is definitely going to help us figure some of that out. Because the hand is a fairly complex object. You got 5 fingers, you got knuckles, multiple bones, it's working with the wrist. Part of just getting your hand in there is partly due to getting your wrist and the rest of your arm looking right. So when we're drawing our hands, if we know how it's all put together, it's going to help us be more successful in the long run. So we're going to work on some tips so that we can better draw hands and be successful at it. So that's what we're going to work on today. Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and just make a new layer. Let's just talk about the anatomy of the hand. So if I have, let's just make an arm bone here. Got an upper arm here, and then down here I'm going to have a hand. We're just going to draw a real simple hand. This is palm up here. Okay. On your pinky side, if you feel at your wrist you have a bone, you can feel that bone go all the way to your elbow here, and it is a straight shot from your pinky side of your wrist all the way up. And it's pretty thin down here, and it gets a little thicker up here at your elbow. Down on your thumb side, it's just the opposite. You have a nice big bone, and it tapers up like this. Okay? Now those bones, when you turn your hand over, those bones actually flop on top of each other. They actually twist. So if I have my hand here, and now I'm going to put my hand this way, so I'd have my palm down. So I would take my hand and I'm turning him over like this. Once I turn that over, that bone stays with the thumb side. So this guy here on the thumb side actually is going to go over that bone, and the guy on the other side stays connected to your wrist. Your elbow doesn't disconnect when you turn your hand over. So knowing how that connects is part of how your hand connects to the arm. It's not like a straight stick with a hand on it. It's actually got some width to it, and it gets flat inside. So if I have my hand from the side, my hand is going to be narrow. And if I have my hand from the front, my wrist will be wider. Okay, so 2 things to take from that. Okay, all right, let's get in here, and actually let's just make another layer. Control G. Now let's talk about the thumb. Thumb here is, I like to think of it like a big chicken leg. You got a fat meaty part of it down here, and a hard bony part of it up here. So if you think of that thumb like that, it helps to put it together. Okay, and then we've got some fingers. Fingers, or phalanges, have bones in them. So let's get our wrist down here. Now, if I have my bones here, again, the wide bone is over here on the thumb side, and on the pinky side is the narrow bone. We've got our metacarpals down here, make up our wrist. And then we have the bones that come up to the phalanges here. You got long bones that go into the back of your hand, and then you have 1, 2, 3 bones for every finger. But on your thumb side, if you look at your knuckles of your thumb, there's only 1, 2, and 3. So I got 1, 2, 3 knuckles from on my hand, my finger side, and on my thumbs there's only 2 knuckles. Okay, so those are some things we're going to keep in mind as we're drawing our hands. Okay. All right. So let's look. So that's all great, Mr. G, but enough with the anatomy lesson. What's something I can do to help me draw hands better? Okay, so we're going to give 3 methods here. First method, I call it the mitten method. Okay, where you literally go and we're going to draw a mitten as just a big, simple shape. So think about a mitten that you would wear in the winter, and you would draw like that. And a mitten basically turns your hand into a big, simple shape. Okay, so if this is my wrist here. Okay, so now let's take this and break it down. So right about here, if we bisect it right there, is where our fingers are going to begin. Right about here is the midpoint where our fingers, and then we can break that apart. I usually start in the middle because your middle finger is the longest of your 4 fingers. And then we can break that down. Now the thumb again, now we're going to kind of work out that chicken leg shape there. And we basically have a hand. Now we can take our finish color and we can start doing some finish work on that. So if I come up there, I got 1, 2, 3 knuckles for the hand, for the thumb rather. And then I have my 3 fingers. And that gives me my mitten method. So that's one method for drawing a hand. Another method that we can do I call the shape method. Shape method, we start again, instead of having a mitten shape, we're going to start with 3 shapes here. We got the arm coming up as a rectangle. You have your palm, which is basically a flared out rectangle. Your fingers, which are a narrowing rectangle. So we got wrist, the hand, fingers, then we're going to put a triangle over here for our thumb, and we're going to put another thing. So there again, then we just add the other parts and we break it out. So again, I start in the middle, lightly sketch out where my fingers will be, my thumb. I like to draw that meaty part there to give the chicken leg. And then when we switch to our finish and you can start moving it, you can start fleshing in literally parts of the thumb. Sometimes I don't break all the fingers apart because when they're together, oftentimes they work together. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll close that. We'll make one more here. The third way that I like to draw hands, this works a lot for a side view, but if you use, I call it the bear claw method here. So just get a wrist in here. So basically we're going to draw a box again. And then I draw the fingers in literally like big curved bear claws. Remember, depending on which way the hand is turning, you may not see all of your fingers. So I got my bear claws there, and then if I'm going to have my thumb on this side, I would make the thumb just a big bear claw too. So if I go and I finish that out, I just break those fingers into segmented and pieces. Kind of round them off there. Got the back of the thumb we're seeing here. Give that chicken leg shape. And remember, you always have the perfect hand model right there with you all the time. So if you can't figure out how to do something, even if you have to stand up in front of a mirror, stand up like you're drawing something. I want my character to be drawing and holding a sword or what have you. Pick up your hand and take a picture. Stand in front of it. Be your own model. I do it all the time. I'm trying to draw somebody who's swinging sword or baseball bat. So stand up and swing your baseball bat. Look at your body. How does it move when it does those things? So for your assignment, you are going to do these 3 methods of drawing a hand. Do one with the mitten effect, one with the shape technique, and one with the bear claw method. And you just do your best. A lot of times I'm drawing an apple here, I make my point here. A lot of times whatever the hand is grasping is going to dictate the shape, placement, and whereabouts of the fingers. And how much of those fingers that we might see. But try to put that all together, practice, stay creative, and I will see you soon.